Here on the Technically Steve YouTube channel, I like to teach skills to people who want to learn, be more handy, do work and repairs and fix things or make things for yourself. And I endorse doing that. Everybody should learn to be more handy. But this is a really important video to me. I hope you watch and stay here. I'm going to tell you 3 things that you really should know if you're going to be working and being handy and working around your house, doing renovations or repairs, fixing stuff like that. Like, obviously there's a ton that you need to know. Safety and things about carpentry and plumbing and electrical and all that stuff. But what I want to talk to you today about is safety, like safety related stuff. And don't be like, oh, boo, and click away. Come on, stick around. Give me a second here because I'm going to tell you some stuff. I'm pretty sure you don't know this and you should know this. I wish I knew this. Like, I'm a tradesperson. I used to be in a different life, but now I do a lot less of it because of the decisions that I made early in my career with trades. And I would like you to benefit from that knowledge, and you so easily can. Let's get started. So the first one is VOCs. Do you know what those are? You've heard of that, VOCs, right? Volatile organic compounds. Does it mean anything to you? It should. So I don't want to make this a science lesson, so let me just tell you this. They're not good for you. You should limit your exposure. And something crazy that can happen. Did you know that a VOC, when it gets inside your body, could mutate your DNA? Your DNA can literally change because of this volatile organic compound that you exposed yourself to. And now your immune system can see this thing. It's like weird, this shouldn't be here, and it starts attacking it. But the thing it's attacking is your body. Now you have an autoimmune condition where your immune system attacks different parts of your body. And once it learns to do that, it can never unlearn it. Like, this is a real problem that you don't want to have. And you would limit your potential to exposing yourself to a problem like that by limiting your exposure to things like VOCs. So VOCs, what are these things and where are you going to find them in your household? It's going to be in a lot of places like solvents, right? Like anything gas, like gasoline would have VOCs. Like any can you've ever opened to work on something, and oh boy, but that stuff stinks to high heavens. Probably got VOCs in it. Even paint. Paint can have it. You know what can even have VOCs in it? Air fresheners. Air fresheners have an appreciable amount of VOCs, and maybe you don't want to use as much air freshener as you used to use because, again, VOCs aren't something that you really want to expose yourself to. And how you protect yourself is by being knowledgeable that some of the stuff you're going to work with, like solvents for different things, like solvent welding, PVC or ABS, great example. It's a little can, you open it up, and a person from the next room yells, "Holy smokes, what is that? It stinks." You don't want to breathe that stuff, right? So you would protect yourself with personal protective equipment, PPE. And in this case, it would be like a half mask cartridge ventilator. And something like that is going to prevent you from exposing yourself to an unnecessary amount of VOCs. And you don't want to do that because you don't want to mutate your DNA. Much more likely to develop an autoimmune condition than you are to develop like adamantite claws and turn into Wolverine or Spider-Man or Hulk or something like that. Not as cool as it sounds. Mutated DNA, stay away from it. So what else do you need to know about working? If you're going to be doing this stuff, like you're learning just now, right? So you have to take steps. And I wish somebody had told me this when I was younger. When I was younger, there would be like a heavy thing and I'm going to go to lift it for the boss. He's like, "Move this." And I go to grab it. And he's like, "No, use a dolly. Don't just pick it up." And here's what I did as a teenager. I would grab it, I'd pick it up and I'd put it on my shoulder and be like, "No, actually it's okay. Like I can lift this. This is fine." And then I would just carry it and I'd put it down. And I would explain to him it's fine because I can tell by the weight of it, it's within my ability to do that. I actually could have lifted and carried something much heavier, so it's fine. What I failed to appreciate is that it wasn't fine, and how I wish I had viewed the situation is this. You have a finite amount of stuff that you will be able to pick up in your lifetime. And the heavier the thing is, the closer it is to your like maximum, there's like this tenfold multiplication that happens in terms of how much of that finite amount of stuff that you get to pick up in your lifetime, like how much you're using up each time. And by this, what I mean, because I have back problems and I've seen a ton of back specialists, and a great way that it was explained to me is that All human beings who work trades or with their hands or manual labor will eventually end up with back problems. All of us. We are designed poorly for this kind of work, as it was explained, and your spine is, kind of held together loosely, and it's like we apply so much leverage. Like when you pick up something heavy in front of you, there is so much leverage created on your lower back. Again, we're just poorly designed for labor, so you basically guarantee that you're going to start having things like back problems by doing physical work. I mean, like, you basically can't get away from the fact that you're going to have back problems. So not only should you not try to lift something too heavy, you should be so careful of this finite amount of lifting that you get to do in your life. And why do you want to hurt your back for a little repair to a concrete sidewalk or some other thing? You certainly wouldn't want to do that. So I would cherish the amount of pain-free movement you have in your back. If I'm describing you, your back doesn't hurt, you can do all this work readily. Don't be teenage me and fail to recognize that you're using up some of that vitality every time you pick up a 50-pound bag of cement. No problem, I could carry 50 pounds, so could you maybe, but there's a finite amount. And also, that's to say nothing of the one wrong step. You take one wrong step with something like a 50-pound or 80-pound bag of cement on your shoulder. One wrong step can be a lifetime of problems. So take extra time. Use a dolly or a wheelbarrow. Ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You really only get one shot at this without hurting yourself, and you'd be surprised how little it takes. How many people I know with debilitating lifelong problems, and I'm like, oh, what happened? Did you get hit by a car? And they're like, no, I turned left, kind of funny, and that's it. That's all it takes. So you got to protect yourself if you're going to be working with tools, things that have the ability to hurt or maim you. Safety has to be a priority if you're going to start being handy, start doing work around the house more readily. So the third thing I want to talk to you about really quickly here, asbestos. Asbestos is something you don't want to mess with. I don't think there's anybody out there teaching people at the amateur level, here's how I use asbestos, or here's how I remove asbestos on the amateur level. Asbestos is like a hard stop situation. If you encounter asbestos when you're working, doing this new hobby that you're pursuing, that's a hard stop situation. And I think a lot of people would go like, yeah, no, totally, I agree. But it could be hidden in more places than you realize. Let's just discuss some of the common areas that you're going to encounter asbestos in an existing or older home. Older homes really pre-1980s, I'm very suspicious, highly dubious that there could be some asbestos hiding in whatever thing I'm going to work on. So floor tiles, specifically kind of like a laminate flooring, less like a ceramic or porcelain, more like the kind of stick-on adhesive ones. Both the adhesive itself as well as the tiles themselves are highly suspect, well known to be asbestos, containing asbestos. 9x9 tiles up to 12x12 tiles. These are the ones that are most commonly suspected of having asbestos. And honestly, one of the measures you can do, just a real quick eye test here, and you shouldn't do an eye test, but if you encountered something and you're like, oh, is this asbestos maybe? Does it look really good? Is it super old, but it's really serviceable? Maybe it doesn't cosmetically, tickle your fancy, but it's in really great shape considering how old it is. It could have asbestos. I've seen that in so many things. Swimming pool plasters that are 30, 40 years old and still look pretty good definitely contain asbestos. If you have a plaster wall, lath and plaster, back before sheetrock and drywall and things like that, it was horizontal boards and lath and plaster. And you know what they used to put into that plaster to make it last one heck of a long time? You bet, asbestos. So the next time you're aggressively sanding down the walls in your Century home, you might be wanting to think about hey, is there a chance this stuff contains asbestos? Because you definitely 100% don't want to be sanding down walls in your home that contain asbestos and you're just unaware of the situation. You don't want to do that. If you have pipes in your home that have a white cloth wrapped around them, there's a high chance that that's asbestos. Like, I would go so far as to say I wouldn't get it tested. I would just make the assumption that this is asbestos. And then the right thing to do here is nothing. Largely, an expert would tell you this, asbestos is fine, just don't disturb it. Okay, so what you don't want to do is just start removing this asbestos pipe wrap that you found. More likely you would make the assumption it is asbestos, and you would contact an asbestos removal or evaluation company to come in, take a look what's going on and see what you're dealing with. Oh, you know what's another really common one? Vermiculite. Do you have vermiculite insulation in your home? I can hear a commercial playing in my head, something that I've heard a million times before on TV. Call the law offices of so-and-so. Vermiculite is well known when used in insulation that this can contain asbestos. And you might be thinking, hey, Steve, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Do you know what? I don't have a worry in the world, because that is garden grade vermiculite. And the type of insulation in your home which did contain vermiculite with asbestos, this is a very specific example case. And a lot of people took that to mean, oh, vermiculite equals asbestos. And that's totally not the case. Or else, why is everybody's grandma buying into the gardening store and just throwing it around their gardens? Like, that wouldn't make any sense at all. But it does, because there's no asbestos in garden grade vermiculite. Now, if I have a Century home and I encounter vermiculite insulation up there, again, I'm kind of just making the assumption this is asbestos until some expert proves or tells me otherwise. No, this stuff in fact does not contain asbestos. I would just make the assumption it did, and I certainly wouldn't disturb it in any way until I figured it out. Siding. Shingles that look uncommonly good despite the fact that they appear to be 20, 30, 50 years old. These things also can contain asbestos. So as you can see, asbestos is one of these things that can kind of be anywhere. It lurks in the home, right? And you want to be careful. You know, there's a lot of old timers out there who did a lot of work with asbestos, and they say it's fine. Presumably not all of them died of mesothelioma, but the reality is that if you're just working around your house, you don't want any problems. And if it means that you have to put on a cartridge ventilator, or you even have to call in a professional for remediation, so be it. Just solve that problem entirely, and then you don't have to worry about asbestos anymore, because now you're paying attention to it and you know that it can be hidden in and around your home in a bunch of different places. You know what's one more? I'll tell you one more. I almost missed it, but I'd want you to know it, so I'm just going to backtrack here. Remember tiles? I said tiles, right? You know what to watch out for? Black. If you ever go to pull up tiles and the mastic or the thin set or whatever they use to, you know, adhere or get those tiles to adhere onto the substrate, there's all kinds of colors it can be and will be. But if it's black, hard stop. Black indicates that asbestos or an asbestos-used epoxy or adhesive was used to mount these tiles. So the tiles themselves, as well as the adhesive base, could be. So even if you can evaluate the tiles and you're looking at them and you determine, no, these tiles don't in fact contain asbestos, and you pop that first one off of the subfloor and you see black underneath there, that's a hard stop situation, so that you can bring in an expert to evaluate the situation. I hope you found all of this helpful. Please like and subscribe, because I'm technically Steve, so it's going to help you if you do. Right now, you could have subscribed already. There was like an appreciable amount of time there that, okay, fine, it's over. The video's over. I'll see you next time.